Hello, my name's Kurt Jackson with KJ Financial. I help people think differently about money and more specifically their retirement by going much deeper than your current advisor or retirement plan administrator does into what the challenges that you're likely to face between now and then when you are actually in retirement. We all know that life is full of risks, but really, is there any reason our retirement savings, the money that we're counting on to give us a paycheck every month of our lives, should ever be at risk? Wall Street wants you to believe you have to have your money at risk in the market to have a chance of having a successful retirement. But have you ever challenged that thinking? Let's do just that. First off, realize that our retirement plans are not like our parents' or our grandparents' plans were. They worked for the same company their entire career and then they ended up having a company pension when they retired. Back in 1980, 60% of workers had pensions. Now, only about 17% do if you include government workers. And multiplying our challenges is that we're living longer than what our parents and our grandparents did. So when we began saving for retirement, we were told to put our dollars before taxes are taken out into a 401k or a 403b, a 457 plan, or even an IRA. We call these qualified plans. The money would then grow tax deferred, and when you get to retirement, you'll be in a much lower tax bracket. It sounds great in theory, but does it really work in reality? And compounding the problem is we've gone from a retirement that was put together and controlled by experienced money people to a do it yourself model. And unfortunately, the reality of the situation is we're not equipped to manage money, are we? See, we've transferred the responsibility from the company to ourselves. What we're not really told is that we have another option. It's more of a non qualified personal pension like plan. Okay? You've probably never even heard about the second option, have you? See, we've got four big risks to qualified plans. There are more risks, but we wanted to keep this to a manageable length, so we focused on the four biggest. These risks are the basis for groups like Time Magazine and 60 Minutes, who've done extensive reporting on how terrible these qualified plans are. If you'd like to see the videos from 60 Minutes, just let me know and I'll send you some links. They're quite maddening. The first big risk is market losses. Okay? How much money did you lose from 2000 to 2002? And then again from 2007 to 2009. America lost their collective shirts in those huge market crashes. Well, I can tell you with a high degree of certainty that we will see more market crashes. I can't tell you when, and come on, really, can anybody predict the market? See, we've averaged 47% losses every 11 years since 1900. So while we've all been told that the market is up over time, and that's true, the problem lies when we're defining what your personal definition of overtime is, and will the market be up for that particular period of time? When we talk to people, they tell us they fear there are going to be 3 or 4 or 5 more market crashes in their lifetime. And history tells us they're probably right. So if you lost money in 2000 to 2002 and again in 2007 to 2009, what are you doing differently today to protect yourself from that happening again? Now, chances are you're like everyone else and you're doing the same things you were doing before those two historic crashes. And really, it's not your fault. It's your well meaning advisor and retirement plan administrators are advising you based on what everyone else is doing. But come on now. Isn't doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, the definition of insanity? Now keep in mind that since you're watching this video, you're not going to be able to say that you didn't know of any other options to protect your money. So if you lose the next time the market goes down, it will now be on you. I realize that's kind of harsh, but it's true. Would it surprise you to know that everyone that was using the types of strategies that we're going to talk about today back in 2000 to 2002 and 2007 to 2009 never lost a penny in those two huge market crashes? That's pretty impressive, don't you think? Okay, the second big risk is high management fees. Oh, wow. These are a killer. See, most people have no idea how much in fees they're paying. And I get the sneaking suspicion that a lot of advisors really don't know either. Forbes and Morningstar is a mutual fund research firm, conducted studies on how much in fees that we're actually paying. And the numbers they came up with were shocking. Right? The average fees in mutual fund accounts, which face it is where most of us have most, if not all of our retirement savings, average somewhere between 3.17% and 4.17%. It depends depending on the tax treatment. So do you really know how much you pay? Is this important? It's huge. See, most of us are told our fees are around 1%. You know, over a 40-year work life, paying just 1% in fees could reduce your retirement savings account up to 32% or more. That is huge. Okay? A 2% fee reduces it up to 50% or more, and a 3% fee cuts your wealth up to 60% or more, and the average fees are 3.17. Now, come on, you tell me, is that important? Is that significant to you? You know, Washington finally latched onto this problem, and back in 2012, they began to require that fees be fully disclosed, which is a good start. The problem is, when Washington was putting the enforcement plan together, who do you think they consulted to make the rules? Well, the very people that were charging these fees, Wall Street. So, if the fox is advising you on the security of your chicken coop, how safe do you think your chickens are? Well, this is a good step, and it did bring fees into the spotlight. It did not do what Washington intended. Or, for those conspiracy theorists, maybe it did. So fees are huge, and they're absolutely destroying your ability to build wealth. You must realize that. The next risk is future tax increases. You know, nobody wants to pay more than their fair share of taxes. Do you? Remember, the basis of your qualified retirement plan is to save on taxes today, defer taxes, and then pay taxes in retirement when your tax rates will be lower. But when you run the numbers, there are only two ways that taxes can be lower in the future. One is that tax rates are lowered. Now, do you think with all the money that the government's spending and promising, you know, currently when I recorded this, we were over $18 trillion in debt, and we have more than $200 trillion in unfunded promises that we've made for Social Security, Medicare, and the like. So, do you think taxes will be lower in the future? Okay, so tax rates will likely be higher, right? Well, that means the only other way to pay less in taxes is to make less money. Yet, all the money in your qualified plans is fully taxable. And at the age of 70 and a half, you're going to be forced to take this money out in income, whether you need it or not, so the government can get their tax revenue. And if you don't do it, you're going to pay huge penalties. So if you make less money, won't that mean that you'll have to reduce your lifestyle in retirement? Is that what you want in retirement? A lesser lifestyle? All right, here's another little surprise, courtesy of your retirement plan administrator and your advisor. All of this money in qualified plans, and really everywhere you have your money except a Roth, and then there's two other sources, go towards making up to 85% of your Social Security income taxable. Okay? Yeah. How's that for a retirement landmine? So let's just assume in a hypothetical situation that as a married couple, you have $35,000 in Social Security income. Okay. You could be paying up to an additional $7,438 in taxes each and every year if you're in a 25% tax bracket. Now, do you think that's something that you should know about before you go to retirement? Have you ever heard about this? You need to ask yourself why your advisor hasn't talked to you about this or your plan administrator hasn't talked to you about this. Okay. How's government going to make up for the shortage that they have in revenue to pay all of these bills? Okay. Will they raise taxes? Will they change the tax brackets? Will they eliminate tax deductions? Will they means test Social Security and Medicare? Let me give you a little hint. They've already started doing that. Okay, so tax rates are going to probably go up. Let's say your current tax rate is 17%, and your future one, let's say it might be 23%. Is deferring taxes good for you, or is it good for Uncle Sam? It's great for Uncle Sam, isn't it? So let me ask you this. Do you think you'll be in a lower tax bracket in retirement? If you don't, would it make sense to pay more taxes now when you can control them and then have access to some, most, or even all of your retirement income in a tax-free position? Okay, big risk number 4 is, will I outlive my money? It's a real fear. In fact, an AARP study showed that 61% of retirees feared running out of money in retirement more than they feared dying. Think about that for a minute. Okay, enough of the bad, and now let's go for some of the good, because there is a better way. Okay, so when Time Magazine ran their series on how bad the 401k and qualified plans were, they suggested a self funded, tax free, insurance based, private pension like type plan. What do advisors to the wealthiest 10% know that your advisor, your plan administrator, and your CPA doesn't? Back in 2010, the Wall Street Journal reported that 22% of this particular asset is owned by the wealthiest 1%, and 55% of it is owned by the wealthiest 10%. So let me ask you this. Do you think it's smart or not smart to take a look at what the wealthy do to protect their money and reduce their taxes, and then maybe see if that would benefit us? Okay, well, as you can see it from this graphic, the private plan is becoming more and more popular over the years as more and more people, like you and me, begin to realize how powerful it really is. Now, this is not your father's pension plan. It's a tax-free retirement savings and tax-free death benefit plan. Tax-free income for now or in retirement. It has incredible flexibility and portability, plus a tax-free death benefit to protect your family. Well, this has been legal for a long time. It used to be better than what it is today, but Wall Street freaked out when E.F. Hutton figured out the amazing tax treatment these vehicles enjoyed. They freaked out so much that they lobbied Congress, and with their power and their clout in the mid 80s, they were able to get Congress to pass 3 laws that changed how we were able to structure these. So you used to be able to plow a bunch of money all at one time. Well, that was really hurting Wall Street. So these changes that they lobbied for say that you need to take at least 7 years to put a huge lump sum into it, right? There were a few other tweaks, but that was the main outcome of this plan. Now, some people call this a loophole. I don't consider it a loophole because it's an actual tax law that you can find in sections 7702 and 72E of the IRS code. Okay, let's look at the comparisons between the qualified plan, which is the 401k or the 403b or the 457 or IRAs versus the tax-free private pension-like plan. Remember the number one risk was market losses? Well, this plan eliminates the threat of losing money when the market's down. Losses are controlled by a floor, and in exchange for never losing money, you got to give up something, so they put a cap on how much you can earn. And after the huge losses that we've seen since 2000, more and more people are perfectly fine with this type of arrangement. So what is a cap and a floor? Well, in this hypothetical example, if our cap was 13% and our floor is 0, if the market was up 22%, you would get 13% credited to you. If the market was down, okay, 25%, you get 0. 0 is your hero. And if the market was up, say, 8.5%, since 8.5% is below your cap, you would be credited with the entire 8.5%. Okay. Now, keep in mind this, that every penny you put in and every penny you gain is locked in and protected from losses forever. Okay. Is that how your current accounts are set up? Would you like your accounts to be set up that way? Okay, here's a hypothetical example from the year 2000 through the end of 2013. Okay. First 3 years, you can see we lost money. So if you look on the left there, that shows the losses, and on the right, it shows our floor, okay, which would be 0% credited. Does that make sense? All right. Now, as I do these a little further, the green ones are where the market actually exceeded our cap. We're assuming our cap is 13%. So you can see that we capped out in those years, right? Does that make sense? All right. So the red line on the chart shows what $100,000 would have done in the S&P 500, not including dividends or fees, okay? Now, as you can see, it's up 3.54% from 100,000 to 125,653. Now, the media has been touting how you fully recovered from the losses that we saw from 2000 to 2002, 2007 to 2009. Amazing, right? Except that they forgot that $1 in 2000 won't buy the same thing that $1 in 2013 would buy. In fact, if inflation was just 3%, your 100 grand would need to be a little more than 151,000 to pay. So the dollars that you had in 2000 would buy the same things that they would at the end of 2013. So you're not back to even, are you? So you got 14 years of your work life, probably a third of your working life, or maybe more, maybe less somewhere, and you're not even back to even. So tell me, can you ever afford losses? Okay. Now, notice that the media is also forgetting during their cheerleading fees. Okay, with average fees, you're not even back to even. Okay, money wise, not including inflation. All right. Now let's look at the green lines. That's the safe tax-free plan, hypothetically, with a 13% cap and a 0% floor. See how the 100 grand grew to 241, 498? That's 6.66% average return from over that 14-year period. Which one would you prefer? Oh, wait a minute. Before you decide on that, remember the green one is tax-free and the red one is taxable. Ouch. Right? Now, keeping that in mind, which one would you prefer? Right? You know they say that math doesn't lie. Well, except when it does. Right? So when you hear about the average return being whatever it is that really what your money did? Here's a hypothetical example. And let's say you started with $100,000 and you gained 100% in year one. It's a $100,000 gain, so you would now have 200,000, right? Okay. Then in year two, let's say you lost 50%. You had a $200,000 balance. Half of that's 100 grand, so you would lose 100. So at the end of this 2 years, you'd have a $100,000 balance, right? Well, what's my average return? I had 100% gain, 50% loss, so our gain is 50%. Well, we looked at 2 years, so we divide that 50% by 2, so our annual average return is 25%. That sounds great, doesn't it? But when we run the money math, if we started with 100 grand and after 2 years we ended up with 100 grand, what's our gain? Come on, that's an easy one. 0%, right? Well, what's 0 divided by 2 years? Well, anything divided by 0 divided by anything is 0, right? So our actual gain is 0. Did you know this? Did you realize this? Are you sure that when your advisor talks about average returns, are they talking about average returns? Or are they talking about actual returns? Think it's important to know that? Okay. Has your advisor taught you this? How about that retirement plan administrator? I wonder why they haven't. All right. Benefit number 2 of a tax-free plan is much lower management fees. See, the fees in these plans are higher early when you have a lower balance and lower later when you have a higher balance. Does that sound better than low fees when you have a little balance and high fees when you have a high balance? I think so. If you run the math, I'm pretty doggone sure you'd agree with me. Here's a hypothetical example of fees from a qualified plan at the age of 85. Okay, having more than $181,000 in fees, while the fees from our alternative plan were just a little bit more than $95,000 at that same age 85. It's 53% less. Which would you prefer for your money? The third benefit is tax-free income. Now, in our hypothetical example, the alternative plan creates $57,304 in tax-free income. Then, if we assume a 20% tax rate, the qualified plan would need to create $71,505 of income to net $57,304 in after-tax income. Wouldn't that put a lot of more pressure, having to pull out 71,505? Wouldn't that put a lot more pressure on your portfolio than only having to pull out 57,204? Which would you prefer your account to do? Benefit number 4 is lifetime income. Okay, so on the left is that qualified plan. So notice that in this scenario, the qualified plan runs out of money at age 76. You know, no wonder so many retirees are worried about running out of money. Yet the alternative plan, the one that we're talking about, doesn't run out of money until age 110. Which would you prefer for your money? Benefit number 5 is flexible contributions. Okay, the qualified plans have maximum amount that you can put in there. So for if you're a higher income individual or a higher have more wealth, these plans don't have a cap on them. Okay, so you can have them high in some years, lower in other years. You just try to structure it on where you think you're going to be able to put in that much, but there's always some flexibility to put in more or to put in less. So you have flexible contributions. To go a little deeper into this flexible contributions, since we're talking about life insurance here, all right, if you buy term insurance, there's no savings. Okay, basically what you're doing is you're betting the insurance company that you'll die before the term ends, and the insurance company is betting that you won't. Okay, that's a bad bet. You die. You have to die to win. I don't know if there's any way good to do that. So our alternative plan does something different. It provides tax-free savings and tax-free death benefit, and a very small portion of your contributions goes towards paying for the insurance. Recall the much lower amount of fees that we talked about a little earlier? Well, that's where this is coming from. Wouldn't that mean that you're paying less in fees and you're getting all of these additional benefits? Isn't that getting more for your money? Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Now, there's some other amazing benefits that I'm going to just touch on here. They are a bit more complex initially, but once you understand them, trust me, you're going to be blown away. So you have cash value building up in this plan. And even though you begin taking income out, your balance can still continue to grow. That sounds different, doesn't it? So even though you take the money out, your account can continue to grow like that money never came out. Where else can you get that kind of deal? Now, I know you're thinking, Kurt, how in the world is that possible? Okay, so your cash value inside this policy is collateral against any loans you take. Your retirement income is really a loan against your policy. And loans are tax free. Oh, oops, I think I just shared some of the secret sauce there. Since the money isn't coming out of your account, see, it's coming out of the insurance company's general fund. So your balance continues to grow when the index is up, as if none of that money ever came out. Isn't that amazing? Only it gets better. If you utilize it properly, and we'll help make sure you do, that money that you borrowed is charged an interest rate by the insurance company. But in the years where your account is credited with a rate that is higher than the rate being charged on your policy loan, not only is your interest on that loan paid for that year, you can actually earn on the loan balance by the amount that the credited rate exceeded the loan rate. Look, I know that's a little complex, but believe me, it's worth it. All right, let's say you own a home worth 200 grand and it's got no mortgage on it. And then let's also assume that in the past year the home went up in value 10%. So now it's worth 220 grand. Great, right? All right, well now let's say that you own that same $200,000 house, but you took a $100,000 loan on it. If the house appreciated 10%, would the one with the loan still be worth 220 grand, or would it be worth something different? It'd still be worth 220 grand, right? So the fact that you had a loan on the house made no difference in how much the value of the house changed. Does that make sense? Right. Well, that's gives you an example of what I'm talking about when you pull the money out for a loan, for income or whatever, how the value of your account keeps going up because we're not pulling money out of it. The insurance company's giving you money out of their general fund. Okay. All right. So I'm going to leave the other part of what I mentioned to a time when we have more time to discuss it. I just wanted to, all right, I admit it. I wanted to tease you just a little bit in hopes that you'd want to know more about it. Okay. I apologize. Okay, so when you borrow against your policy for your tax-free retirement income, the loan is not repaid until you pass on. So you have your cash value savings plus some additional death benefit, and you subtract the loan and any interest, and what you have left over is the tax-free death benefit that passes to your heirs. Here's a quick, simple hypothetical example. Let's say you had $1 million total death benefit. It is made up of $700,000 of cash value that you've accumulated over your working life, and $300,000 in death benefit, in extra death benefit. Okay, so over your retirement, let's assume you took out a total of $500,000, which includes your loan and the interest, and then you pass on. You had $1 million in total death benefit minus your loan and interest of $500,000. So your heirs would get a tax-free death benefit of $500,000. Does that make sense? How's that sound? All right, well, let's quickly summarize. Your taxable qualified plan is guaranteed 100% at risk of loss, while our guaranteed plan is 0% risk of market loss. Currently, you're guaranteed to pay taxes, and unless tax laws are changed, in our plan, you're guaranteed tax-free. Currently, your returns are not locked in, but with our plan, they are guaranteed to be locked in. Currently, any death benefit, if there is, is guaranteed taxable, but with our plan under current tax law, it's guaranteed tax-free. Currently, the qualified plans have been around less than 40 years, okay, whereas our plans have been around, now they've modified them and grown and changed, but they've been around for over 120 years. Currently, your fees are not fully disclosed and are huge, while our plan, they are fully disclosed, easy to find, and you'll find that they're much lower. Pretty amazing. Okay, well, if you have any questions, my contact information's on there. But if you'd, I got a question for you. If you would like to see what these numbers would look like for you, okay, just kind of do a quick comparison. I have software that we can do that. It'll take us probably 15 minutes, maybe a little longer, depending on how many questions you have. We can do it online, so it's really easy to do. What I would need from you before we could do that are just a few things. I just would need your age, if there's any significant health concerns that we would need to worry about to qualify for life insurance. Kind of a ballpark on what age you think you might want to retire. It doesn't need to be etched in stone, but it helps us to when we're estimating what things might look like. And then from your current plan, 401k, 403b, 457 IRA, whatever you have at work, we would need what your current balance is, how much you're contributing, and then if your employer is also contributing, how much those are. So because we want to make sure we can do an apples to apples comparison on this. Okay. If you need some help with that, I would imagine your HR department could help you figure out those things. And then the last thing I would need would be just to take a quick look at your last year's taxes and give me the amount that is on line number 37, and that's at the bottom of your first page of your 1040. It's your adjusted gross income. That gives me an idea what your tax bracket is. So if you could have those things, then I could do this. So I've got should have a link somewhere on this page or below the video where you can actually schedule an appointment. I've got all the times that are open. What I'd like for you to do is, however long you think it'll take you to get that information together, give it like 2 more days so I can have that information to put together the information for you before you would schedule your appointment. So if it's going to take you 2 days, then schedule that appointment out 4 days out, and then we can meet online. And if it's you and a spouse, no problem. You don't even have to be together. You could both be, as long as you both have access to a computer wherever you are. We can all 3 be on at the same time. So like I said, it'll take about 15 minutes. If you have some questions, it might take a little bit longer than that. That way, at least you can have an idea of where it looks, what your numbers look like. If you like it, great. We can look to talk about moving forward. If you don't like it, that's fine too. At least you'll know. So thanks for tuning in. If you like what you saw here and feel that it's worth sharing with friends, family, anyone you know, anyone you care about, then please share the link with them, and that way they can watch this too. But other than that, thanks for tuning in and spend a little bit of time with us today. Have a great day.